Hellenic Shipping News, 21st of June 2023, India's continuously dwindling trade with China cannot be replaced by its economic relations with the US. From Wednesday through Saturday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to the US for the first time. One of the visit's top focuses is consolidating recent efforts to strengthen their connections in the defense and high-technology sectors. There is also an agreement to increase bilateral trade, a road plan for defense industry cooperation, and a framework for cooperation in innovative technologies, according to Diplomat.com. Since becoming Prime Minister in 2014, Modi has traveled to the US 6 times, but this is his first state visit. The Financial Times recently cautioned that Washington's acceptance of Modi carries a price, stating the US charm campaign has been noted with dismay by some of India's elites. This warning comes as the US appears to step up attempts to urge India to fight China and impede China's economic progress. The US allegedly tries to use India as a bulwark against China, which worries them. The US and India are currently collaborating more on trade and economic matters. In the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, from April 2022 to March 2023, the US has overtaken China as India's top trading partner. The economy of India benefits if trade with the US can continue to grow. It should be noted, too, that the US has also increased commercial and trade relations with India while introducing other geopolitical calculations. In contrast to existing platforms for economic and trade cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region with India, such as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, the US is more eager to promote the so-called Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF, which excludes China. The geopolitical calculations of the US are simple to understand. As many Indian elites fear, Washington's intense efforts to improve economic and trade ties with India serve only to impede China's economic growth. However, the US's geopolitical plan will not succeed since India or other economies cannot take China's place in the global supply chain. India's imports from China also rose significantly in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 as its exports to the US rose noticeably. Indian statistics show that India's exports to the US climbed by 2.81% in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 to reach $78.31 billion. During the same period, India's imports from China increased by 4.16% to $98.51 billion. For now, China continues to be India's leading source of imports. Chinese customs records show that, despite the COVID pandemic's effects and Western propaganda that India's manufacturing industry will replace China, bilateral trade between China and India in computer and consumer electronics surpassed the $100 billion threshold for the first time in 2021. Cross-border trade between China and India reached a new high of $135.98 billion 2022. India's domestic market has grown since the pandemic, and as the country's economy has advanced, so has the demand for intermediate goods such as Chinese chemicals, active medicinal ingredients, and car parts. Additionally, even though American businesses have made at least $54 billion in investments in India, spurring the growth of sectors like manufacturing and telecommunications, those American businesses that have grown their assets there, like Apple, are now inextricably linked to China's supply chain. India appears to have significant market potential for American corporations like Apple. However, there are still substantial obstacles due to the nation's shortcomings in the business environment and the viability of its industrial supply chains. These data support that India could and will replace China's position in the global supply chain within 5 years. In actuality, neither India's trade with the US nor China's commerce with India can supplant the other in global supply chains. India needs to import from China more and more as it increases its exports to the US. China, India, and the US share the goal of preserving international industrial collaboration. Instead of focusing on hegemonic China, the US and India should resolve their differences to advance their economic and trade cooperation. Due to the Chinese market's complete closure, several financial and business connection frictions exist. In reality, the US frequently makes empty promises to India. India has not joined IPEF since the US has not complied with its demands for market access, China claims. However, the actual cause of the glut of inexpensive Chinese goods India can implement beneficial trade and economic policies that serve its interests. Still, it should give up geopolitical calculations, like considering joining the US heedless and self-serving effort to limit China. India's future growth and development depend not on China's trade and economic cooperation,